What's up, guys? Today's video is on sort of a secret weapon record that I've got. By that I mean just sort of a secret weapon for this video series. Just sort of one of those records that I haven't blogged about yet, but I've had in my collection. It's just one of those, anytime I sort of feel stuck or I really want a good record to blog or vlog about, I'm like, okay, this is a great one I can pull out at any time. And today, I'm pulling it out. So to talk about today's record actually requires a little bit of setup, and it requires me to talk about a totally different group. And the different group I'm going to talk about, who did not make this record, is Cypress Hill. Cypress Hill, when they first came out, they sort of had the double A-side singles. One of those, lots of groups have put out double A-side singles, but this was sort of legit in the fact that they actually released, videos for both songs, and they both sort of had a proper release. They both had the same release, but actually, back in the days on cassette, I remember the B-side eventually got its own separate cassette single, even though it was already the B-side to the other A-side. Not to mention, then, that the B-side also got its own remix, which got another 12-inch single, and on, because it was a pretty big hit for them, and I'm talking about Cypress Hill. And the double A-side single was Funky Feel 1 and How I Could Just Kill a Man. And Funky Feel 1 was okay, but How I Could Just Kill a Man was the bomb, it was the joint, it was probably still to this day, Cypress Hill's greatest hit. And I'll put this out there, I am not Cypress Hill's greatest fan. I don't have most of their records. I got a couple 12 inches, I got one album, that's about it. I don't really, and most of those I even just got because they were cheap and sort of easily available. I'm just not a huge Cypress Hill guy. I think the star of the crew is Muggs, their producer. Lyrically, I think they're just sort of alright. Sendog is sort of generic, and Be Real is sort of their MC star, but his voice is just so cartoony and silly. I remember when the song came out, I really liked the track, I was into the song, I'm like, okay, that's cool, but I didn't buy it right away. I'm like, well, let me see what else these guys are going to do. And that was sort of it. That was nothing they did sort of approach that one again. If they did more songs like How I Could Just Kill a Man, I would have been more on board. But sort of like, nah, by the time they sort of became a frat group, I was totally disinterested. And then they really sort of became like a rap rock group and completely not interested in that. And certainly though, that's not to say that they haven't done other noteworthy things. They've had some really nice tracks. Again, their producer is great. So there's some singles worth checking for, and some of their earlier stuff is, I definitely, like I said, I'm not their number one fan, but they're not whack or anything. They've made their mark legitimately. But anyway, so I never really quite got How I Could Just Kill a Man. And then later on, years go by, I'm sort of like, okay, I should fill up my collection and kind of get the 12 inches of songs that, like that I never bought at the time. They weren't like, oh my god, my favorite, I have to have it, but I should have it because I like it, it's a dope track. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to pick that up. And while I'm looking online to order this thing, I came across a record I absolutely never heard about. How I Could Just Kill a Man by Young Z. And this blew my mind because I am and have been since Young Z first doing solo stuff on Perspective, when his first single ever started to come out, Everybody Get High, I love that, I love the B-sides. I've been like a huge Oursidaz fan, you know what I'm saying? So, partially because I'm from New Jersey, so I hold it down for them, and partially just because they're one of the illest crews out there, and I've got really just about everything they've ever done. You've seen plenty of blogs and videos from me. I interviewed them, I got the Oursidaz brick, so for me to stumble upon an Oursidaz record that I don't have, especially by basically their frontman Young Z, in this day and age, although by this day and age I guess I mean a couple years ago now, really totally blew my mind. And so, immediately I went to Discogs and all, I'm like, am I a fool? How did I miss this all along? It's not on Discogs, wasn't on eBay, it wasn't anywhere. I just sort of found it one rare little Japanese online store. In fact, I am pretty sure this is a Japanese pressing, and the only pressing. I've only ever seen it available through Japanese online sites, the few rare times that I do. So I'm pretty sure this is a Japanese 12-inch, but I also think it's at least somewhat legitimately came through the artist, because it does have the clean version, the instrumental. Actually, that's one interesting thing about it. 12-inch mentions 4 tracks, the main version, the clean version again, and the acapella. The acapella, disappointingly, is not on here. What is on here is the instrumental instead of the acapella. To say a Young Z greatest hit, that's really saying something. This could definitely go on his greatest hits album. And it is a flat-out pure remake of How I Could Just Kill a Man, where in fact he's literally rhyming over the instrumental. In fact, I imagine this was mostly released for mixtape DJs to put on their mixtapes and things of that nature. Now, for heads who've been in this game for a minute, you've probably discovered a truism about hip-hop. And that is, if you like a song strictly, primarily, almost exclusively for the beat, but you like whatever, like the MC sucks, or he's kind of commercial, or he's saying some stupid shit, or just whatever, you're not feeling it, but you really like the track, so you're tempted to buy it just for the instrumental, wait. Because somebody's going to come around and reuse those samples in almost the same way, if not exactly the same way, and that track that you want to hear, but you don't like the MC over it, wait a few years, you're going to get some more MCs over it, and then you're going to get a combination that you really like. And Cypress Hill isn't a group that, again, that I consider whack. I'm not like, oh my god, I wouldn't want to buy the original How I Could Just Kill Man. I was out to buy that 12-inch, that's how I found it in the first place. But this is absolutely that for me. This is infinitely preferable. Young Z really kills it on here. He's an MC I'm a much bigger fan of than Sendog or Be Real. And in fact, the original How I Could Just Kill Man is essentially a Be Real track. Sendog has a really sort of short verse, and he does a hook. He says the infamous phrase, but essentially he only has like a really little tiny verse after Be Real's first verse, and all of it's just Be Real. And I suppose I should admit that Be Real, I sort of said, well, he has a cartoonish voice. Young Z does also have an exaggerated extreme voice. It's just, it doesn't feel quite so cartoonish to me. I like it better. Maybe it's just preference. But anyway, I'm a much bigger fan of Young Z than Be Real. But anyway, it is a little bit of a disappointment that the acapella is not on here because that would have been exclusive. Having the instrumental instead, I mean, it's a dope instrumental, so it's good to have. But honestly, you can get that instrumental easily enough on the Cypress Hill 12-inch, so that's not terribly exciting. It's good if you're like me and you didn't have the Cypress Hill 12-inch, but otherwise, you know, it's nothing really. I would have much preferred to have the exclusive acapella. But at any rate, you have the vocal version, which is really all you need. If it's nothing but the one version of the one track, that's all I would care about. And it's got that unedited as well as the edited version. I have seen this MP3 float around online, mostly I think taken from mixtapes, and who knows, I think maybe Young Z actually probably put it out himself. So you'll probably be able to find a song online. Finding this 12-inch, not so easy. But like I said, look for Japanese websites. That's where you're going to find it, if you're going to find it. No particular label or production credits. They do say produced by Shut 'Em Down Entertainment, who or whatever that is. Obviously, the instrumental production is really by DJ Muggs because it's just a 100% jack of How I Could Just Kill Man by Cypress Hill. But perhaps that's sort of meant to be the label that's not actually credited as a label. But anyway, so there it is. That's the song you want. Absolutely recommend it. I'm going to play some clips of it.
Knowing you too old to beef, I make my boys come, kill your wife and parents, then take the dope and your life insurance. Hit Mexico, move that X and dro, till I get bumped on like Johnny Depp and Blow. Z, about to drop a real hot tape. I hope somebody diss me, man, I can't wait. Who that little 38 special gon' shoot? I got the tech in the coupe, the vest in the boots. You better come wearing chemical suits, or I turn the rest of your group to vegetable soup. At a club, y'all try to fight Z, he better be drunk off Long Island iced tea, or he gon' whip out and level your squad. We could never be friends like the devil and God, man. Here is something you can't understand. Oh, I can just kill a man. Here is something you can't understand. Oh, I can just kill a man. Here is something you can't understand. Oh, I can just kill a man. Here is something you can't understand.
There have been a lot of like covers and remakes in hip-hop, you know, like Snoop Doggy Dogg remaking The Vapors or La Di Da Di, stuff like that, where it's essentially the same track with a new MC. This is the only example I can think of. I'm not going to say it's the only example in history, but it might be, because it's the only example I can think of where the remake is actually preferable to the original. Because, you know, I mean, if I listen to The Vapors, I want to listen to Biz Markie. I want to hear him talking about, you know, hey, cool V, welcome to my store. You know what I mean? This is the only version I can think of where I actually prefer the remake. Certainly there have been examples where better MCs have beat-jacked worse MCs, or just happen to use the same samples better the second, third, fourth, fifth time down the road. But this is the only one where it's a pure remake. I mean, it's the same hook. In fact, literally the same hook. They leave Sendog's voice in there and everything. Flat-out remake, and I prefer it. And that's saying something because the original is dope. So yeah, here's a record probably a lot of you haven't heard of, because even I hadn't heard of it for the longest time. But now if you have heard of it, you'll definitely want to run out and find a copy. And so good luck with that. Till next time, peace out.